Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, executive editor at Madison365, and about 20% of the time, at least once a week, I forget to switch that graphic while the opening video is playing. I've got these graphics here. I've got this one, and then I've got this one, and I'm supposed to switch them during that opening little countdown, and one time a week at least I forget to do that. Anyway, so thank you for joining me today. It's going to be a shorter show today, just because the state hasn't reported any COVID data yet. They've got a note on their website that says the data is delayed, which is affecting both Dane County and the state numbers. They did roll out an update to their dashboard, so like the vaccine data, the way they're presenting the vaccine data is different, which is going to make it easier for you to look at, easier for us to grab the data to report for you. But I wonder if doing that messed something up and they're not able to report the data today. If we do get the data updated at a reasonable hour, I might be able to pop back on here and give you that update later. But in the meantime, there's still plenty of news to talk about. Believe it or not, COVID will be behind us someday, and there will still be news to talk about, and I'll continue. As long as you guys want to watch, I will continue to do this show every day to keep you up to date on the news, generally speaking. Thank you, Scott. That was very nice. Nice thing to say. So here's what we have. We have, first of all, two announcements from the newsroom about Madison365. First of all is one that I'm just going to remind you about that I mentioned yesterday. The Men's Leadership Summit is coming up April 14th and 15th. This came out of our Wisconsin Leadership Summit, which was a week long this year and back in October. It was online, and it would stretch it out to a week. And one of the things that came out of that was that the people who were attending that wanted more specific stuff, content, programming for men and for women of color specifically. So we created this Men's Leadership Summit, which is coming up April 14th, 15th. The Women's Leadership Summit will be in June. And we originally were going to charge $49 for this, just to basically help cover the cost of it. Because, online events are cheaper than in-person events, but they're not free. We still got to have people running them and the equipment and the technology and all that. And we found out that a year into this pandemic, even like $49 was a barrier for individuals and for companies, frankly. Like businesses wanted to send their employees to this and just couldn't spare those few dollars. And we wanted to just remove that barrier. So luckily we got enough corporate support. We had some sponsors involved who you'll hear more about those. But we've basically been able to make the numbers work and make this free for everybody. You still have to register because we're still going to make kind of a private space, not just throw it out on Facebook Live or whatever. But the registration is free. The registration is open now. You can go to WisconsinLeadershipSummit.com and click on the Men's Summit link and register and see the topics and stuff like that. We're still announcing topics. We're still announcing panels, things like that, and speakers. But that's exciting. The other big exciting announcement we have was something we just announced today, and that is we are hiring a full-time health reporting intern this summer. This is a cooperation between us, and this photo is from our old summer academy internship program. Wisconsin Alzheimer's Disease Research Center is funding a full-time health reporter for the summer. It's going to be an internship, so it'll be there are students at UW or a recent grad, like somebody who's currently a senior who's ready to graduate in May is eligible to apply. But it's going to pay $15 an hour, so a decent wage, to work 40 hours a week for 8 weeks in the summer, focusing on health, wellness, health equity, and aging. And for us, health and health equity are big, broad topics, right? This is not just doctor's office coverage, right? This is food insecurity. This is housing. This is environmental factors. This, community health is a big, broad topic. So we're going to have this a young journalism student, or just doesn't have to be a journalism major necessarily, but a young person who's considering journalism as a career and wants to do some good work and learn and make some money over the summer. So we are really grateful to the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Disease Research Center for funding this. And maybe the best part of this is that they have committed for 3 years. So we're going to have an intern every summer for the next at least 3 summers covering health, wellness, health equity, and aging for us, especially through this. We know that there are disparities in health outcomes and healthcare and everything to do with health when it comes to race. So this is an important topic for us, for 365 Media. And it's going to be really exciting to have that full-time person on board. So if you know of a UW student who's thinking about journalism as a career and who would want to give this a try, you can go to Madison365.org, /academy/application. In fact, I'll just put the I'll put the link in the comments here. But we're going to accept applications through April 15th. /application. So you got a few weeks if you know of any young people, because it's Wisconsin, because a UW funded thing, it has to be a UW student, unfortunately. But that's not unfortunate because there's a ton of really great talented students at UW. But it does not have to be a journalism major necessarily. It could be life science communication, could be English major, whatever, as long as they want to do some good reporting and are willing to work hard and learn. Okay, on to the news then. This is not a recent photo, obviously. This would be a super spreader event. This was a recent photo. This is a photo from a couple years ago. That guy in the middle there is Michael Ford, better known as the hip hop architect. And the hip hop architecture camp is something that we've been covering since it started back in 2017. Michael is a urban planner, urban design guy. And he runs this hip hop architecture camp to get middle school and high school kids through the lens of sort of hip hop culture, thinking about their built environment and thinking about how the way a neighborhood is planned, the way the buildings are built, the way the buildings are, built near each other and how they're situated, all of that really affects your community. Right? It affects your daily life. The spaces around you, the way things are built around you really affects your life in ways you don't even think about. So he's getting these kids, especially Black and brown kids, thinking about those issues through this hip hop architecture camp. It's been running now for 4 years. It has taken off so fast that he's done them in Atlanta, in London, in San Francisco. It's all over the world. And it'll be the second time, next week is the second time that it'll be fully virtual. CUNY Mutual and some other sponsors helped him do a virtual hip hop architecture camp toward the end of 2020. And I was doing another one next week, and he's looking for registrations. It's free for 7th to 12th grade students. So if you go to Madison365.org, look for this photo, click on that story. There's a registration link. It is, I never actually attended the whole thing, but I covered it. So I was there watching it happen, and it's very cool. And it's a really interesting way to think about these issues in a way that you've never necessarily thought about before. And it's very, very cool. All right, the next story is another Dane County Jail controversy. This is a screen capture of a court appearance. Can you tell which one is the defendant? You got a judge, you got attorneys, and you got up here, and this guy is appearing in court, and you can't see him. And he's looking through his little food slot in the door of his cell. Right? Why is this a problem? This is obviously a COVID thing. This is they've been doing video. Dane County typically doesn't really do video appearances in court the way other counties always have. Like a lot of other counties around here do all their court appearances by video. Like you just have a video link from the jail. That way you don't have to transport people from the jail to the courthouse and so on. So other counties were more set up for it to do it when COVID struck. I don't know if you remember seeing even Kenosha County when Kyle Rittenhouse was all over the news, and you can see pictures of him in his initial appearances. He's on, he's at a conference room at a table. He's got a lawyer next to him. He looks like a real defendant, right? The Dane County wasn't set up for that. So when they had to go all virtual, like they just literally have a deputy holding an iPad outside your cell. So either you're behind bars looking through talking to the judge, or you're peering through that little little slot in your door. Right? Now, judges are very smart, very educated people for the most part. So you would hope that they'd be able to overlook that, right? And not judge you based on the fact that you're sitting in jail and you can't see their face. But we also know people are people. Psychology is psychology. Human psychology is a funny thing. And it's very advocates. We have a story on this on the website, by the way. Advocates from Nehemiah Center basically lay out the studies that show that you look at somebody who's not in a fully normal human situation, you're going to think about them differently, right? And that's why this is problematic. And the Nehemiah Center has been working on this for months, trying to get them to change this, and they just have not made any headway. So they came to us to report it publicly. And I understand where it's coming from, and that this is a extreme and hopefully temporary situation, but it's been over a year now, and we haven't figured out how to do court hearings like this. And the other problem is that a lot of these are initial appearances where you're entering your plea, where you're learning what your rights are, and the defendant is not even able to hear what the judge is saying or what their attorneys are saying, and they're here to understand what's going on. So they're not getting fully informed as they go through the process. Due process is kind of the cornerstone of our justice system, right? So you can see how this is a problem, and you can see why advocates for the incarcerated people are upset about this. So unfortunately, doesn't seem to be a good solution. But you'd think people would be able to figure out something, right? Also in the news today, where's my clicker? This is an older person from the city of Evanston, Illinois, which is a suburb. Oops, I don't even have that up. Sorry. Evanston, Illinois, suburb of Chicago, is the first city in the United States to officially approve reparations. So this has been reported by my friend Bill Smith on at Evanston Now, which is another local independent online outlet. So I'm very proud of my friend Bill for reporting on this. But they have taken revenue from legal cannabis. They've been collecting a 3% tax on cannabis. And they're funneling that back into the Black community. Specifically, they're not just writing checks necessarily, but this is something that was approved by the city council last night. So that's why we are reporting on it today. And what they're doing is they're taking that revenue and they're identifying people who have whose families over generations have been affected by housing disparities, redlining, that kind of thing. And they're giving $25,000 housing credits or housing assistance, like $25,000 to be used for housing, to help you buy a house or to help you pay rent and that kind of thing. So it's not just direct cash payments quite yet, although that's what a lot of people want. But this is where they landed, and this has been there are Black folks on the board, and you saw one of them, and so it seems to me an innovative approach to reparations. It's not necessarily reparations all the way back to slavery, but we know that redlining and housing discrimination is part of that legacy, right? Coming out of slavery and then through Jim Crow and everything, and segregating neighborhoods unofficially and making it really hard for Black people to own property and therefore build up wealth. Right, generational wealth is a big disparity problem. So this is one ways to try to catch that up, and they're doing it without taking revenue from other sources. It's new revenue basically, and they're allocating that toward these reparations, which I think is quite innovative. and sure to be controversial. I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't like it, but that's the situation. And that's what they're doing in Evanston, Illinois, which becomes the first city in the United States. A lot of people are talking about it. Tulsa's been talking about it, coming out of the massacre in 1921. Lots of other places have talked about it, but Evanston becomes the first city to actually do it. So that's the news I have for you for today. Like I said, if we get updates on the data, I will certainly publish a story, and depending what time it is, we'll see if it's a reasonable hour for me to come back on live and give you the update. But in any case, worst case, we'll have 2 days worth of data tomorrow, and we'll get you caught up. I don't see any reason to believe that the numbers would have been terribly, awful today. So I'm not too concerned about it, but I appreciate you staying with me here. Madison365.org/donate if you want to support the work we do. Otherwise, if you have story ideas, if you have people doing good things in your neighborhood that you think we should know about, if there's injustice that you see that you think we need to know about and that you think needs to be exposed, shoot us an email at news@madison365.org. I will be here again tomorrow. If I'm not here later tonight, I'll be here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Till then, take care.
This is 365 Media.